understand the 16 is coming back out again for another crack at it, Chris Dyson. Now, in this qualifying session, you're allowed to change anything on the car other than the tires. The tires cannot be changed. So you can top up with fuel. You can use the fuel jug to actually top it back up. You can make suspension changes, make aero setting changes, even change the tires side to side. That's one thing the Audis used to do on a certain configuration racetrack, but you cannot change all of the tires.
You said the 16 car just left pit lane. When he was in pit lane, the only thing they did was just lower the pressure in the tires a little bit. They didn't make any other changes. Chris said the car felt great. Wants to keep the car the way it is. Let him cool it off just a little bit and lower the pressures, and now he's back out.
Chris Dyson needs 0.4 of a second to equal where Simon Pagenaud did on a one-lap run. Now, Simon took 4 laps. It took him 4 times to find a hole. He was in a hole 4 different times that they looked on the spotter, said, no, not yet. Now, think about your adrenaline while you're out there trying to do a lap that late in the session. That's what's going on right now with Chris Dyson.
You saw an LMP challenge car flash by in front of him, so Dyson may get held up on this. Understand David Brabham up on some of the corners, spotting for Simon Pagenaud, finding him that hole. Teamwork both in the car and out, working together as a team. Remember, they are leading the LMP challenge, or the LMP championship in the driver's standings with wins the last 2 rounds, and they want to dominate this championship. I think they came home from Le Mans after the problems they had there a little bit humbled, and I think certainly hungry to get back to their winning ways.
Well, they loved the experience. It was real adrenaline rush, took a lot of the team members out of their comfort zone. For most, like 90% of that team, they'd never been there before, so they're really leaning on the experience of David Brabham. They had Marco Werner on board, of course, who's won so many times for Audi over there, but it was a learning experience. They definitely want to go back next year. We don't know which car they're going to be in.
Pagenaud, another lap in the books, and guess what? This one even faster still. It's now almost a half a second back to Johnny Cocker. And we said that the boys at Highcroft were hungry. Well, Simon Pagenaud showing them how it's done. There's something about this racetrack that he understands. He's obviously a very good race car driver, but as we said a moment ago, he's just magic at this facility.
He does. He loves fast corners. He's very precise. He's not afraid to give it one, and he just really totally commits. But you say it, Dorsey, he doesn't do it in an aggressive way. He is super smooth. And talking to the team this morning, they said he just continues to impress. For a guy this young to have so much poise and discipline is quite remarkable.
It's just cool to watch him. He's got the good demeanor, he doesn't get all rattled up and goes out there and just puts it on the money. Chris Dyson's working really hard. One thing with these turbocharged cars that you need to do to be fast is get to the throttle soon. Get up on that boost as soon as you can. The way you do it, 2 ways. You either slow up the entry of the corner or you turn a little bit early and get to the throttle early.
He came across an LMP C car early in this lap. Alex Figgew's doing a nice job here on his debut, currently 3rd in that class, but it may have hurt Chris's run here a little bit. We'll have to wait and see as he crosses the stripe.
Down the front straightaway, across the timing line, not quicker.
No.
In fact, about 2.5 seconds slower than his fastest lap.
That was encountering the C car that killed that time for him.
Pagenaud across the line yet again.
Surprised he's still out there.
Here he comes down the front straightaway. Take a look at this one
again.
And went quicker still.
Just by a few hundredths, but he keeps trimming it down.
See, that's just rubbing your face in it.
At what point in time, though, do you say, you know what, we've gone fast enough, this is pretty comfortable, a half a second is very impressive. And remember, you got to start on these tires. You can change one, but don't you want to save a little bit?
I think you do, and I mean, again, talking about the significance, the fact you're getting great fuel mileage, that means that first stint tomorrow, unless we see yellow, could be very, very long, and the more laps you're doing now is going to back time off the back end of your run tomorrow.
That's what surprised me right here to watch these guys. I know, the Dyson guys would like to be up there on the pole, but is it worth to be on the pole for the tires?
I think the other thing that is so impressive as Chris Dyson continues to fight and claw his way through a section called the Attitudes to try to chase down Simon Pagenaud. The other thing so impressive about Pagenaud, remember the last prototype he raced? It was at Le Mans. It was a Peugeot. It was a diesel.
Much,
no, he didn't run much. No. But throughout that week, the time spent in that car, and this is a very different machine than he ran here last year, and yet he sits down in it, plug and play. He's magic.
Remember, we spoke to him at Le Mans about that very situation. Here we see Chris Dyson obviously got booked in traffic again as game over as the time runs out on the clock. And he says they're so different, however, that it's an easy change. If the cars were a lot more similar, it would be more difficult. But he said the cars are very different. Remember, he went on a tear, won in 2 ALMS rounds and a round of the LMS Championship. He had 3 in a row going into Le Mans. And then, of course, with the tub failure with Pedro Lamu behind the wheel early in the run, he and Sebastian Bourdais didn't see any green flag running at Le Mans this year.
Think about in the past, Simon.
Nice job, Simon. P1.
Simon, when he goes and qualifies, that's not uncharacteristic for him to run 3 laps and each one be a tick faster, just a little faster, which is just showing you he's got such intense concentration, good car feel.
And he and David Brabham so strong as a team. Their driving styles so similar, both so very smooth with the inputs, and I think that's one of the things that makes this team so strong from within the cockpit. Obviously, the engineering staff, Duncan Dayton leading this team, is what makes it so strong overall.
And I think when you look at today and you look at the pace that the car has shown throughout the practice sessions and ultimately putting on the pole, that's showing the experience of this team. They're poised, they have a plan, they stick to it, and then they execute, and they're going to give Simon the best piece they can in qualifying. If it's not enough, you know what? You talked about it, Brian. Big picture of the championship. They lead right now. This is a racetrack that you'd say would not typically suit this configuration of race car, but they're going to maximize what they have every weekend.